for this one. Amanda and Nick did the last one, but I have the pleasure of having Dr. Sean Hancock, the new president for the Cerro Coso Community College, joining me. Thank you, Sean, for being here, and thank you, Dr. Hancock. Sorry, I'm gonna do my best to not be too inappropriate, but we started City Talk, and we're talking about who people we wanted to, and I know you've been in the community now for about 6 months.
Yeah, it's just about 6 months.
About 6 months. Yeah. And you came from what area? I know you came, is it from the Northern California?
So directly here, and well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here. So my most recent position prior to coming here was at Grossmont Cuyamaca Community College District.
Okay.
So that's their La Mesa, El Cajon.
Okay,
area.
so San Diego
And
area.
so I was living in San Diego
Okay.
for a couple of years while I was in that position as Vice Chancellor of Student and Institutional Success.
And have you been in the community college sector? And I don't know if there's a big separation between, like I've learned administration for schools is very, very different depending on whether you're a principal at a high school versus an elementary. They're worlds apart.
High school, elementary, community college system.
Is community college different than 4-year in terms of?
There are differences in how we function.
Okay.
Like the CSUs and the UCs are all like a single system. We're not really.
You're a bunch of individual, more regional
Districts,
systems, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so we have our own board of trustees, in each district. There's 72 districts.
Okay.
Well, 73 if you count the online. Yeah.
One of my favorite stories when I was first starting managing was somebody came to me with a resume that had University of Phoenix on it. This was back in maybe 05, 06, something like that. And I was interviewing them, and I said, "Do you realize that when you put University of Phoenix on there, all I see is I bought and paid for a degree?" And they went, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I'm not trying to be insulting. I just want to know what work you had to really put into, because a for-pay institution has different accreditation expectations, different."
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
And I'll say this
Now, is
because
this before and after? This is 50 years
right,
ago,
and
too.
there's been a lot of changes, and they've been under a lot of pressure to
Good
prove
pressure.
themselves. Yes, good pressure. I come from the reason I bring it up is I come from a for-profit career
Excellent.
college. Spent 15 years with San Joaquin Valley College,
Okay.
which is up and down the San Joaquin Valley, and they're one of the few remaining.
Is that SJVC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they're actually accredited by ACCJC, the same accrediting body that accredits us. And so that puts them already in a completely different category.
Absolutely does.
And because they're held to the same standards.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's expensive.
Right.
And that the students go into a high level of debt.
Very, very much so.
And so I get that, and I understand why a lot of people are anti-for-profit colleges, but they're not state supported in any way.
Right.
It's all the tuition dollars is what keeps them.
If
business,
you're for profit,
right?
your product is education.
Right. The interesting part about that is the for-profits have been doing guided pathways, which is what all of the community colleges now are moving to, guided pathways model. That's like clarifying the path, getting the students on the path towards completion, ensuring they stay on the path, so retention,
Okay.
and then completion is a big, huge agenda for the community colleges right now. It's getting students through from start to finish so that they graduate and earn a living wage, right?
I mean, so that the 21-year-old kids that enroll for like one class and drop out, and those guys, I seem to remember some guy
Trying to provide some direction to students, right? So they
somebody
at least
like
have
that in 1999 LA Mission College.
Or, I don't know why I'm here. My parents just told me I had to go to college, right?
If I'm going to live at home, I have to be in college.
That's why I'm here. If I'm going to keep a roof over my head, I got to be in class.
college.
So,
or if I'm going to keep my health insurance, I got to be in college. If I'm going to do this, yeah.
So I always talk about, and now that I joined the public sector about 7 years ago, and people would talk about the evil for profits, right? And I said, all you got to do is do what they're doing, and people won't pay that money to go there.
That's true. That is true.
And so I said, what we've done is we missed an opportunity to really make sure we're serving the students in the public system.
Well, I think the for-profit system has improved substantially too, since
Right.
we've gotten a certain amount of better control over how. I still think there's some challenges in maybe the financial aid fundings and some of the systems, but the difference that I notice is also that the public sector caught up with the private sector in terms of online availability.
Right.
That was what was not. That was the big void that was there.
Improving access. We have a different outlook now. I'm seeing that evolve tremendously. It's not just, we just sit back and they're just going to come to us. No, we've got to talk about our programs and what we do for our students. It is a more competitive environment, and there is a lot of opportunities out there for people to get their education, some very expensive ones.
Yeah, I've always been so impressed with the online model that Cerro Coso. So yeah, I didn't step on campus one day at Cerro Coso. I
Oh,
never
really? So you
stepped
did
on
online.
campus one day at CSU Channel Islands, and but that was exactly what I wanted. And well, I mean, that's not fair. I've stepped on campus at Cerro Coso many times, not as a student. Shall we clarify? But I've always said that the online model is such a powerful tool now for enabling people to get into the secondary education market, to get into, and I think that that's what's changing some of the expectation that you really, if you're looking to establish a career and you're not pursuing secondary education, you are truly leaving yourselves at a severe disadvantage.
Yeah, the online availability of online courses, that's something I was really impressed with Cerro Coso. Just how many offerings you can get degrees completely online. And a lot of community colleges aren't there yet. They're more so, or temporarily doing that now due to COVID, but
You were ahead of Coso's been ahead of the curve.
it
there for
really
a
made a big
while.
difference
It
in
did.
having to go remote.
Yeah,
Because we already had a 60% or so of courses offered.
of courses. And we were starting to talk before the show, and I was telling you, one of the things that Desert Valleys has done, and I'm proud of, but I can't ever get I can't get them to knock them up the head hard enough with it. Is we'll pay for their course books for the entire full 2 years if they want to pursue a 2-year degree for just that reason, because it's so accessible, and you don't realize how much you can do 1 or 2 units.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you'll do 1 or 2 units, and then you'll do 3 or 4, and you're in a rhythm, and it's 18 months later, it's over.
I think that's amazing that
Yeah.
you've given that.
Call it.
opportunity.
I love Cerro Coso. I thought it was so cool to when I first hit this community way back in, that was 2004, 2005. Just to have an online school that was public at that stage. Online meant you were paying the bill, and you were
Right.
paying it hard.
Right.
And the incredible school. So, we got a lot of different questions. We're already off and talking, so this is why I said it's what's great freeform.
Right.
But tell me what attracted you to Ridgecrest. What outside of being the big cheese, which trust me, I understand the attraction to that. What did you like about what are you finding you're liking?
Well, it was, initially the position, because I wasn't aware of Ridgecrest prior to seeing
Neither was
this
I.
opportunity. So, I was born and raised in Visalia,
Oh, okay.
California. So on the other side of the Sierras, in the Central Valley. So I am native to California. And we're just not aware of this side.
I think this side is known as snow or how to get to Vegas.
Right. Oh, yeah. I've
Pretty
driven
much one
through
of
the
two. You might know
58.
Snow, Mammoth area might get a few people, or yes, that's just how you get to Vegas.
I'm one of those, I got to admit it. It's like, oh, on the way to Vegas. Okay, so up from there.
Yeah,
The Four Corners area. So
I never quite understood how many natural beauties were out here in just terms of from Mount Whitney to Death Valley to Pinnacles to Kern River. I've always said one of the things that I discovered about Ridgecrest that I love is it is an outdoorsman's heaven. If you want to be able to ride your bike, you can ride a bike to work, come home from work, drive a motorbike for a couple hours in the beautiful sunny desert, come back, crash, and if it's Friday night, have a beer outside and go fishing the next morning in the river. And you have not had to plan a travel schedule around
right.
a week's vacation.
Well, somebody is coming to campus every several days a week in a razor.
Nope.
So I'm like, okay, where are they coming from?
Yep.
where
And
where do
that's-
they live that they're driving a razor to work?
Right.
So yeah,
It's just it's a cool community. I think it's a fun little community. So my question was, what was the
Yeah.
most interesting thing that you found since you got here?
well, you know what it is that I have driven out to the Toronto Pinnacles to see that, and looking forward to getting up to see a lot more of what you mentioned, like the Whitney Portal and things like that. But it's the community, the sense of community that everyone knows everyone.
Yes.
So that good and bad at times, but I love that sense of community and the college community. So not only within the greater communities that we serve, but the college itself.
You have some incredible staff faculty that really
Right.
deeply care about not only their students, but care about the campus and the school itself.
So when I left San Joaquin Valley College after 15 years, and I ran a campus for them in Modesto for 10 years, before I said, okay, what am I going to do now? I got my doctorate. It's like, I don't really want to move into the central office, that corporate culture. And so I thought, I'm going to take a look, and I want to do what I'm doing to provide education and opportunity to our communities. But I want to do it on a larger scale. So like the natural progression then would be the California community colleges, right?
Yeah.
So I jumped in at Palo Verde College out on the 10 right before you cross over into Arizona on the Colorado River in Blythe. So Palo Verde College out in the desert. So I spent 4
So
years.
you're already used to summer heat.
So I already know summer
It's
heat.
coming.
Because everyone's like, have you been here?
Have you
through
been here
summer
during
yet?"
summer?
Yeah. And it's like, you don't worry about me. I'm good. I lived in Blythe. I
You won't
understand.
melt. You're good.
And so, I had that for 4 years before going to San Diego. And what I cherished about that was a very small rural community, right? And in the relationships that I formed with the college, my colleagues there at the college, and the community members, the same people in Rotary were in Lions, we're on our foundation, we're on it, and so on and so on and so on.
We have a huge amount of volunteers that you will see repeating.
Right.
That is Ridgecrest 101.
But it just speaks to how invested everyone is in their community.
It is.
And in the college. And so I saw that here. I saw an opportunity to recapture what I missed.
That's awesome, and I think you couldn't have picked a better place. I was telling Sean that your predecessor, Dr. Board still serves on the board of directors for the credit union, and I recruited her years and years ago before her husband retired, and I still to this day value so much of the information we've gotten from the college, and we've had roots going all the way back to the same firm. This is a small known fact that you would probably have that a lot of people wouldn't know there. The same firm that designed your library is the same firm that designed this building, the Addington Group. And that was a relationship we had with Joanne Hanlon when she was there, who served on our board way back in 2003 and 4 when this place was being designed. So we've had a great relationship with college. So I know pre-COVID, let's go back to 2019. You guys started a bunch of remodeling, huge amount of remodeling work. And is it done? Is the campus, shined up, ready to go? We're just waiting for students to be allowed back into the rooms?
So yes and no. So the remodeling piece was done, yes. The main building, the science labs, all of those things, that's all been completed. They did a lot of things in a lot of different areas throughout the campus. I say yes and no because then the earthquake.
Oh, yeah, of
Right.
course.
So there's the remodel and then there's the repairs. So as I understand it, just when they were getting, had moved back into
Yeah,
the
they had.
building after that long remodeling process, they'd just gotten back in,
Yep.
and then the earthquakes.
Yeah, they had just finished
And then everyone's back out again, while they assess the damage and everything else. We've just recently completed all the earthquake repairs.
Okay.
Everything is ready to go.
Okay.
People, once we can have everyone back on campus, the buildings are ready for them.
So you've got a big old stoplight from the government, as far as where you can go forward. But as soon as that clears the green, the campus is ready.
Yeah, and things are looking really good as of today.
And things are looking
yeah.
good. We got about another week, and I think we'll hit orange.
Yeah.
which will be great. And
And
then the governor actually announced today that he's looking to, I think it's June
15th,
15th,
remove the tiers.
is to actually remove the blueprint. You know, I think it's probably overdue in my own individual political perspective, but I'm glad to hear that he's moving faster, which is what should be happening. It should be accelerating. I think we all kind of predicted that there would be April, May, June, and then June seems to be hitting the nose. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So then on the other side of that, you know, we still have a substantial amount of our most recent bond money. Um, so we still have some projects underway. So right now we're looking at, they're going to start fairly soon with the maintenance and operations facility.
okay,
And so they're going to get rid of the old one that we've got sitting out there, and build a new facility for them because it's way overdue. And then on top of that, there's the outdoor sports complex,
okay.
outdoor physical education complex.
Now that would be where the track and the buildings on
That whole
side.
side, that side over there.
Yep.
So they're looking at putting in a field house that has team rooms,
Okay.
concessions, some storage, and then also a player development area,
Weight rooms,
which is covered. Now this would be like an outdoor covered area where they
Oh.
can train and do practice and things
without having to deal
Um,
with
you know,
130 degrees
right. So
summers.
there's
Got
some
it.
shade and some structure there
Okay.
around that. Also bleachers for the baseball and softball fields, the dugouts, clubhouse for them to change and to meet in. And so
So one of my questions that I threw on my list when I was thinking about it is how does, you know, I would imagine the role of athletics in a community college, especially the one like ours, middle of rural area. You know, how is athletics an important component to the college itself? And I can see it, but I don't think other people would understand why athletics is such an important component.
So, you know, coming from San Joaquin Valley College and then being in a district role, I wasn't as connected. And Palo Verde College didn't have athletics until just before I left. We were bringing basketball back, so
Okay.
we recently played them and won. So I was really excited about that. But so my experience with that was limited. So, you know, I was researching and looking into it, and think of athletics as it's a student success program because there's supports and guidance and direction and all those things that we're looking to do for the general population is already happening with our athletes. So they tend to be full time.
Mm-hmm.
So they take more classes. They
Mhm.
tend to we retain them,
Which
And-
goes to that first point you were making about keeping them in school.
and they graduate at higher rates.
That
than
would
the
make
non-athletics. And so it's just overall, it's like a built-in student support program. And
Okay.
because they have to maintain a certain GPA to continue and
course.
qualify. And so there's a lot of benefits to it. And not only does it attract people to the college that might not otherwise consider going to college. So there's that aspect of it too. So it's a draw.
Mhm.
It gets people to start thinking about their education. You know, it's like, well, I guess should go to college, but I want to play baseball or I want to play basketball. That's what I really want to do. And so it gets them into college, and then they start to see the benefit of getting an education.
And they get through the next couple years of their lives before they discover that they may not have a baseball career ahead of them, but
Right.
they've gotten educational skills and
Right.
technical skills and
That
things
they
of
can
that
take
nature
with them.
that they can take with them.
Right.
That's a real important component to understanding is that, you know, we have probably a challenge. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but you know, there's a challenge in the maturity calendar of people as medicine has improved so much over the years that the maturity uh, maturation point, you know, from 1920s, 30s, by 20 years old, you had already had to have matured to a certain point automatically
Right.
in terms of, well, this is what you're going to do as a career. You're going to be a coal miner. You're going to do this. You're going to do this because you already get two kids at home, and you know that sort of mindset has changed. And I think athletics gives a good time for that. I don't want to say maturity, but you know what I'm trying to say. is
Personal development.
just development, how people
Yeah.
grow.
Right.
You know, I there's no idea. I had no idea what I wanted to be at 22 years old, and I barely knew at
Right.
27. You know, but it's a cool process.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, since we're having a great chat, and I don't want it to go too long because I'll talk to you for an hour. But I want to throw out you my idea that came from campaigning and my first reason why I said I want to ask Dr. Hancock here is, we have an incredibly diverse geological area in Ridgecrest, one of the most diverse geological regions in terms of being able to develop. You can talk about the earthquakes, the volcanic, the seismic activity, the dry lake beds, the chemical makeups of Cerro's Lake and things of that nature. Then you have the lowlands of Death Valley to the highlands of Whitney. One of the things that came up was have we went back and had a pursuit or conversation, and I'd love to hear your opinion on getting graduate level geological sciences or physical sciences into the community, and whether that's something that you could see Coso being involved with or partnering or finding some solutions towards in the future. And we have such a huge wealth bed of PhDs in this community, from engineering to geological sciences, and I'd love to see us use that to take those maturing and give them more opportunities. It's a curveball, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on geological, on just how graduate sciences and those type of partnership opportunities.
Right, and that's the first thing that comes to mind when you speak about that is when you talk about graduate studies, that's going to require partnership.
Oh, of course.
We're a 2-year college, and so we're limited to associate's degrees. Well, currently, there are
which is a fantastic, encouraging opportunity.
Right. There's 15 schools, Bakersfield's one of them, that are offering baccalaureate degrees right now. And there's legislation right now to end the sunset on that and to expand it and open it up to all community colleges, so long as we don't duplicate a degree being offered with the CSUs.
Well,
so that said,
as long as you don't duplicate a degree being offered by the CSU, you have to offer a very specific
something very specific
very
that's not already
unique.
offered within their system.
Well,
So
that's interesting.
Still limiting, but it does open a door.
But that's something where seismic studies. I'm throwing something.
Right.
I'm
So
I'm
say
pulling
they
something
don't
out of
have
my
a
head.
degree in
That
that,
they don't have a specific.
then we could step up and apply to
That's
offer
very
a
interesting.
baccalaureate degree specializing in seismic studies, for instance.
Yeah, these are all spitball ideas, theoretical ideas. I found what was so interesting is just learning. David Santamon was here a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about just the amount of data that was captured because we had the first quake, and all of the geologists had came out to investigate what happened on the first earthquake. So their sensors are in the ground, everyone's ready, and then what do they get? They get the 7.1. And they get, oh my God, I'm in data heaven, not for me.
Right. Not everyone
not everyone wants to be have data heaven, but that's cool. So keep going. I apologize.
Yeah. So that's one avenue towards a baccalaureate degree offering, and then there's partnerships with other universities. So if there are universities that specialize in what you're talking about. So are they interested in coming out here and then partnering with us to offer the first couple of years? And what would that associate degree look like?
Right.
That they would, what are the requirements to feed into their program?
Right. And even more so is my theory was even maybe it's not an associate, but maybe it's graduate, but it's just simply using leasing of facilities and finding partnerships in those facilities. Yeah, I just see we have this incredible wealth of education and knowledge in this community. One of the key resources that we have not tapped into to use. I still was amazed at how many people I talked to that are so highly educated, so highly understood in their specific fields of study, where I'm like, okay, ruh-roh shaggy, I don't know what this is, but they could provide that and as another economic vehicle, because I see COVID changing so much about how we're going to interact educationally, professionally, personally.
Right.
It's not going to be this. They're going to lift the bans, and we're going to start to see what the new normal is. But the new normal is not going to be what it was March 1st, 2020.
Right.
And I think a lot of people got their eyes open to digital learning and distance learning and online learning and those things. So.
Right.
I just always like throw it out there. That's my. If I can get through 2 full terms and I can successfully solve 15 other problems. I'd love the idea of seeing graduate opportunity inside the community and that type of partnership.
Yeah, your more rural community colleges are perfect places to look at those types of opportunities, even if it's just a school coming out and offering classes
Right.
on our campus or one of our centers.
Or just even having those resources because
Right.
you've set up to be able to manage in a digital classroom space. Where if you try to sell somebody, say, hey, come out and set up, but you got $300,000 of upfront costs for this, and you got this. Whereas we can find partnerships, I just think it's one of those great, opportunities. And just what I just have to throw it out there because I'm so cool. I'm so hip on the idea of, wow, I did not realize, I lived here for 16 years, never had the earthquake, never knew what was going on, realizing that. And then I still remember I saw the Discman television commercial, and I don't know if anybody showed it to you. But in 1994, 93, when the Sony Discman first came out, greatest technology since sliced white bread, something that can play a CD. And their television advertisement was from Ridgecrest. And it doesn't skip when it shakes. And it was showing it like the earthquake capital of the world.
Oh, that's funny.
And I never knew any of this. And so then we get hit with the 2 earthquakes, and I got kids that are screaming and a wife that's 6 months pregnant when it's in and everything else and all the chaos that comes with it. And then afterwards they tell me, oh no, this is supposed to be like regular. And I'm like, well, how regular has it been? I haven't had one in 16 years.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't seem all that regular.
As a survivor of Northridge, your regularity is not exactly on tune. So I'm sorry.
I was in San Francisco when the Bay Area.
When that
hit
89?
89, yeah.
Oh, I was watching that
So
baseball
I've
game.
had my experience with it.
I was watching the baseball game, and I still remember that vividly in the middle of that break, in the middle of the game break. 89. That's interesting because it's so different environments too. Because that was liquefaction and all this other things. Sorry,
Right.
I keep going on. So one of my other questions was, how has topics of education changed over time? I mean, you go back to 20 years ago, and okay, I got a couple choices here. I can go into biology, engineering. I can do business. I can do economics. Maybe language arts or something like that. But I know that the education topics have changed over time. Have they become more specific, more broad?
You do see more emphasis on, I mean, there's still, colleges are known for transfer, and there's been a lot of development and focus on associate degrees for transfer.
Okay.
So we have, I believe, 9 of them available now. So what that does is you complete that and you're in at a CSU. And so there's been a big push on, part of the vision for success is more transfers to CSU and UC. And so they're working on that same kind of transfer degree. That's like a predetermined transfer degree for the UCs next. So we've retained that focus, but there's been a big push about strong workforce programs.
Okay.
And making sure that we're not losing sight of how we support the economic development of our state and our local communities. And so CTE, Career Technical Education, has come to the forefront a great deal in those more specific training programs that are needed. As we've learned more and more, these days it's just not a high school diploma anymore. You need some college.
Oh, yes.
So a certificate where you get very specific job skills that are needed.
Even basic computer skills, as scary as that sounds.
Right.
When we are interviewing people, that just understanding email and timely correspondence, organizing inside Outlook, managing schedules,
Right.
making an Excel spreadsheet, not the world's most difficult thing in the world, but to somebody who's never taken that type of education.
Right.
Has I know that computer education obviously is grown exponentially over the last 2-3 decades
Right.
or something like that. Do you find that your computer education tends to be a broader age band? I guess this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that you'd have more people that were trying to return to college would be in those types of fields versus in like biology or in literature, stuff like that.
So there are definitely people that are looking to change career paths or say that industry is no longer viable. and they've got to seek retraining. So they're going to need some of those introductory courses and things. A lot of people are now growing up with the technology.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You've got young kids.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
be
they-
surprised if your 18-month-old is already on an
On
iPad.
they're already on iPads.
Yeah.
iPad touchscreen, I'll give you. Now, if I tried to ask him how to write something on a computer, I think I think if I put a keyboard in front of him, he might get officially lost. And that's my 9-year-old.
Right.
But I get exactly what you're saying. I know that one of the things that we found so valuable, especially between the credit union and the relationship, was sending people back to get basic, even program education, Photoshop. How do you use it? How do you use Excel? How can you use these things to be more effective? And the thing I want to make sure the community hears through this conversation is, if you have not explored the CTE or even the one credit courses at Coso, you haven't given yourself a chance to go and get some of that education, take the time to. It is such a defining change in how your employer views you, and also in a defining change in how you view yourself.
That's one of the biggest parts right there that I've seen over and over again, and it's why I do what I do, is just seeing the self-esteem, that sense of completion. And I have to say that that's what education did for me, and that's why I get such a charge out of seeing it happen to others.
Yeah,
As they start to believe in themselves, and it's like, oh, wow, I can do that. Every time I got another degree, oh, wow, I can do that. It's not for those other people.
yeah, very much so.
And so, yeah,
I
it's
was
huge.
and I saw just background in terms of conversation. I attended Occidental for 3 years, so I got into an Ivy League California level, and dropped out because I hated it. It was not my school. I made a bad decision, learned my lesson, but went back, got my degree at 40 through Channel Islands, and it was absolutely, even at my age, the most rewarding thing I had done, because it wasn't the fact that I struggled with the classes, but it was the fact that I was able to struggle through the classes and get to the completion.
Right.
So if you're out there in live stream land, if you're sitting there at home and you're trying to figure out there's an opportunity for you, I guarantee you at Coso there's an opportunity for you. Even if it's a one something, there's an opportunity, and to not take advantage of such an incredible resource that you have in your backyard.
Right.
That is something Ridgecrest it's a gem we own.
And there's no timeline.
No,
Where, okay, I missed my opportunity to go to college. That's not true.
no.
I didn't do the straight line.
Yeah,
start to
right out of
finish.
high school. That's what?
There were some breaks that I took.
I took life.
Along the way. Yeah, life happens to a lot of us, and so just know you can go back.
You can go back
And,
and succeed.
Yeah, or you can make it go a different direction. There's education is power. Education is choice.
Yeah, very much so.
And it's never ever too late.
No, and
I love when a grandmother graduates with their grandson
that's
or
cool.
granddaughter or something. I've presided over graduations where I'm like, do we have any multi-generational graduates here today? And they stand up and it's like, oh my God, look. So grandma's getting her degree too.
That's awesome.
My
mom went back and did it just before her 50th, I think, or something like that. But I mean, it was her. But she did. I think she took 10 years to do it, because she says, this is the pace I need to do it at. Knock yourself out.
Right.
Whatever. If it makes you happy, who am I to question? And to this day, she still stands that so proud that she finished it. She did it on her own.
Right.
Single mom. I did it. And did it late in life, but it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So, my couple last questions is, some places are coming out of COVID differently. Give you an example. Desert Valleys, we entered COVID at 38 million in assets. We're going to come out of COVID somewhere around $56 million in assets. Close to 40+% growth in the year. Ridiculous amount of growth. And that's because we chose to get involved with PPP and some of these things. And the only reason why I'm mentioning that is I'm curious, in your opinion, is Cerro Coso coming out of COVID stronger than it was going in? or weaker than it was going in? And it's an interesting question
Yeah.
because some people would say that, well, my faculty learned new things and that's where I got strength, or I lost students and that's where I would find a weakness. So I'm just curious how you would perceive how COVID's impacted Cerro Coso's strengths.
Well, you just kind of set it up right there. It's like we did lose some students. And so that's the weakness. If we can't serve everybody, because not everyone had all the resources, as much as we loaned out laptops and provided Wi-Fi and all kinds of opportunities for students to be able to access their courses, we didn't get everyone. And there's all this relief funds, coming at us, and to where we almost can't give it away fast enough in some respects. And so we're coming out stronger, or at least use the term you hear held harmless in a sense.
Okay.
Is financially due to all the relief funding. And then we are stronger in the sense we've learned a lot through this on one, just the resiliency
Very true.
of our organizations,
Mm-hmm.
specifically our college, the people,
Your
and the
your
students.
staff
Yeah,
and
faculty, staff, students, how they just, especially here, right?
Oh yeah.
Earthquakes,
Oh yeah.
then COVID.
This place took 12 months on the chin,
Yeah.
back to back.
It's just been, yeah. And so just that alone, just knowing and recognizing how resilient we are.
Yeah, Ridgecrest's resiliency, and I think in my role, in my other hat when I switching on different hats, I'm amazed at how strong the city and the community itself is coming out of COVID. We are in I believe we will be in a unique position to really take advantage of what the resiliency means, the challenges that have been turned into blessings.
And the technology.
Well, yes.
The use of technology. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden there's all these advances, but oh wow, we can do this. And so doing those synchronous Zoom sessions. So now we've outfitted our classrooms to be able to do that. So what's that going to look like in the future?
Right.
For those that can't make it to class. So there's a lot of unknowns, but like positive.
Those are positive on those. My first thing when you were saying synchronous Zooms, and I just instantly flash back to just one of those funny college stories is the first course I had to take on my journey back to my degree was speech. And so 40-year-old CEO having to do present in speech class with 18-year-olds. It was more than a bit humorous, but more importantly, is I had to my father's retirement party in LA was the same night I had to do speech. My assignment was due, and so I had to go and do my assignment, show up, do the speech, and then drive down. And I almost didn't make it because a brush fire broke out along Valencia, and so I still remember my frustration. But now that ability to do even something like that, where you need to see body language and movements and speech and all those types of things, and
Right.
now you have that ability in new technology to be able to potentially do.
Yeah. So
awesome.
we learned a lot about what we can do moving forward to increase access, especially being spread out over 18,500 square miles.
Oh God, yeah, you guys are
Yeah.
as far as Mammoth to
Mammoth all the way down, down and around to Hatchby.
Hatchby, right? Yeah.
And Edwards Air Force Base, all of that. So it's huge. It's the largest service area in California, I believe.
It doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody realizes just quite how much acreage there is out on the eastern California desert. As
Like
you
I said in the opening, I didn't.
Nobody has any idea how
Am
much.
I still in California?
Yeah,
I'm driving for hours.
Driving for hours. Is this still? And you wonder where, because it is. It's so much empty desert land. And then you talk about largest restricted airspace in the nation, and some of the different things.
Yeah.
And then to wrap up, is there anything that you see on the exciting future of Cerro Coso that you want to let people know about that we haven't talked about? Or
Well, I just I'm still. It's been 6 months. I'm learning the ropes. What makes Cerro Coso tick around
you haven't
here?
found your
The
name in an op-ed yet, so you're still doing okay.
I'm really excited about all the potential here and how invested everyone is in the community and the college, all the way up and down that entire service area. It's amazing, and it's been a COVID virtual tour. Mostly, I have driven up and down to the different locations, our different campuses. But I'm not seeing people and students really, a few here
Not
and
quite
there.
yet. They're,
Yeah, that are on the campuses to greet me. But other than that,
So I got to do it. So for everyone out there who is watching, here's my Band-Aid. It's right there. I got mine today. If you have not, make your own decision about the vaccine, but be smart for you, for your families, for this community, for everyone else.
agreed. I'm 1 weekend past my second, so I'm going to be fully vaccinated next weekend.
I did the J&J because that was a choice because I knew if I tried to schedule 2 appointments, I'm
Yeah.
historically terrible at that. Historically terrible. But I got to tell you, me and my wife, we're looking forward to seeing you guys the foundation auctions back. You guys have run an incredible foundation,
Oh, yes.
And kudos to Natalie on her leadership of it. You guys have a great group of faculty and people that have been extraordinarily caring to this community and really, truly, deeply care about it, which is,
Right.
I think that's the gem of Ridgecrest is how much people get into knowing and caring what they do.
Right.
That's the value that this community can't ever,
Yeah.
you can't really see it. But once you see it, you're like, wow, that's just, it's something.
I've been impressed by it,
Yeah.
and it's something that's why people stay so long.
They do.
And
You get hooked.
I've heard it time and time again from everyone I've talked to.
27, single, no family, no kids, no reason to be here. 17 years later, I'm sitting as mayor of the city running a
Right.
live stream out of my office. I know all too well what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's been a wonderful journey and welcome. We're happy to have
Thank
you.
you.
I think it'll be a great addition to not only just to our community, but when they tell you that you're wanting to do something, you're being voluntold. And when the term follies comes around, follies, just remember that you were warned. Best thing I ever did. It's a show put on by the Chamber of Commerce, but it's such a great way to get to know the community network that works here and the relationships that became that invaluable for decades.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity just to
Just
be in the
you
same
and me,
room
are
with
having- you
someone.
and me are just having a chance to chat. When Dr. Hancock came in, I keep switching because I'm one of those I like to present the person with the respect of the title because I don't have one and it's important and it's a lot of work. And I said we've probably met 4 or 5 times in different Zoom calls. We were on a Zoom call this morning together,
Right.
but literally we had never formally, said hi, did an elbow bumper, said, how you doing? But thank you for taking the time and just giving us the opportunity to talk and
Yeah, anytime.
and we'll share this with the college and all we're doing again, just trying to get, I think people don't understand how easily they can talk to somebody who's the dean of students or the CEO of a credit union or the manager of this. We're just people. At the end of the day, we're people.
We're another member of the same community.
We're another member of the same community, and more importantly, is ask us the questions, and you'll be shocked how much we want to open up. That's what Ridgecrest is.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, Dr. Hancock, thank you for being here.
Well, again, thank you for having me.
44 minutes. I'll go on for just another second. Did you hear that there's now a bet at City Council?
A bed at City
Yeah,
Council?
there's a bet at City Council since I took my role. They actually have a timer bet that they run in the background for how long I'm going to run the meeting for because I won't shut up. And I discovered this is the last one. So tomorrow's meeting, I said I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start asking everybody what they're betting on in advance just so I can have a target for who's going to win. But with that, we'll say goodnight and thank you again for being here and welcome to Ridgecrest.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys.